I think I might have mentioned in the previous production that I'd secured another front right-hand wing or fender, whatever you like to call it, and this one also needed a little bit of work, but not quite as much as the other one I've got. So I'm kind of planning on possibly using this one, depending on which one turns out the best. So what I've had to do is in this back area here, I've had to put a piece in all the way down and back to that edge. Now to get the gap right, it was a little bit wide in a couple of places. I've actually welded a little bit down that edge, like that you can see there, and I'll grind that off to the appropriate width. I had to do that on the other one as well, and it turned out quite good. So hopefully this one will be okay as well. The patch turned out reasonably well. It's quite flat through there. Unfortunately, I had to put another little joint in there, which looks a little bit untidy, but a little bit of primer filler, maybe a little bit of fiberglass over that, it'll be okay. And the other part that I've had to do is the one along underneath the bottom there. So I've got that all made and tacked in. I actually made that piece. Wasn't all that difficult really. I was able to retain the front part, which would have been the more difficult part to fabricate, but the rest of it I just did in the vise. So I've got that tacked in, ready to weld that in as well. A little bit nasty down here. I'll try and fix that up a little bit as well, but I'll get to and grind this off now and fit that up with the door and see if the gap's a bit better. It was probably a little about half a mil or a mil too wide in that area, so we'll see how that goes, and I'll show you the end result. So there's that bit welded up tight there now. So I've ground the outside edge off and made a little pencil mark around about where it's all got to come back to. So I'll grind that now, and we should have a reasonable sort of an even door gap all the way down. So that's how I go about trying to correct the gaps on the doors if they're really badly out of alignment, and works quite okay for me. And as you know, all these cars are hand built, so it's probably peculiar to this car only, but that doesn't matter. It's probably not going anywhere anyway. So there's a bit of an update. I'll grind that off now and give you a look at the finished product. Well, there's that gap, all nice and even there now, all the way down. So just a little bit of tidying up there. I've got to hammer that up a little bit. It's a little bit too far in just there, a little bit out there. So I'll pull that guard off and hammer that up, and I'll get into welding that repair panel in down there. So yeah, I think that's coming up okay. It's a little bit of filler in those tiny little edges there on the weld. It's all pretty flat really, but yeah, when you do a weld down that side, you don't want to grind it off too much. So a little bit of that fiberglass reinforced filler will go over that and it'll all look very good. Okay, well that's that kind of done for the moment. We'll call that a wrap. So I've started to weld the patch repair panel in there now. I've got a nice even butt weld joint. So I'm doing this with the Oxy, and I'll just do a little bit at a time, a few little bits there. It's got quite warm there now, so I'll let that cool down for a while, and then I'll come back in 20 minutes or so and do a little bit more. But so far so good, and yeah, I like the Oxy. Whilst you've got to control the heat, you do get a pretty neat job out of it with no grinding later on. So yep, progressing on there, and I'll come back later on and do a little bit more. So we're continuing on there. There's a few more done. Wait for that to cool down again, but yeah, that's all coming together pretty nicely. Probably another 2 or 3 runs and we'll have all that done. All welded in, no grinding. So that's all done now. Probably a little bit of dolly work required, but generally speaking that's all pretty good. Got a little bit messy there, but it's all solid, so that'll be okay.